I'm going to start this podcast with a quote. The cause is an alternative view on reality, and there's no coming back. It's an arrow in flight that's already crooked. That was a quote by Janisia. Who is that?
You know, it's tough to say.
Just some guy.
Yeah, it's really tough to say.
Whatever the case, yeah. I like that. My buddy sent me that because he's going through an insane divorce. Married 20 years, finds out his wife is probably, at the end of the day, I've known them both. I can honestly say, because there are always two sides to every story. His side, her side, the truth, and nobody's lying. That Robert Evans quote. His side, her side, and the truth, and no one's lying. It's probably the best way to look at reality. But her view is, I don't even think she has an alternative view of reality. I think she might be a sociopath. I think she truly might be a very bad person. It's not even to me clear that she wasn't trying to actually kill him. Yeah, this is true. I've already said too much. But so much of what we deal with in life. Hey, let me ask you a question. Do you ever feel like what you're watching on the news bears no reality, semblance of reality to your everyday life? Like you listen to the news and it sounds we're already in a low-grade civil war. I don't see it. Most people don't. If you're living your life, life is just too many moving parts to even have good guys and bad guys. A lot of times it's everybody trying to get from point A to point B. They got kids. They got this crazy schedule and they're just trying to not fuck up. They're trying to stay relevant. They're trying to get food on the table and all the other shit doesn't matter. But there are people who get to sit around. I don't know how they have the time. They get to sit around and create narratives and create rewards and awards and create stories that somehow they then push into the news, and we kind of have to either deal with it or ignore it. Okay? And what I'm talking about when you speak about an alternative view of reality is Rachel Levine. I don't know if you know this. She won Woman of the Year. She was one of 12 people picked. Now, Rachel Levine used to be a man. And Rachel Levine now is what, the health secretary? She's a 4-star admiral in the health field.
U.S. Assistant Secretary for Health.
U.S. Assistant Secretary, not U.S. Secretary, but U.S. Assistant Secretary for Health. And this is a transgender, was a man, now a woman, and has won Woman of the Year. Okay? Now, I don't know who nominated her. I don't know who was on that board. I don't know if one person said, I want to nominate Rachel Levine, and the other 12 members on the board, were they like this? Like if you were on that board and I was like, if I went like this, I went, excuse me, but this used to be a straight white man this used to be a white man. And now this white man has decided that they are a woman. And now they are taking a place from a biological woman. And this is one of the ways that you guys are trying to break down the line between men and women. So that there's ultimately no category other than the fact that I've taken some hormones. I might have had some surgery and I identify as a woman. I don't know how you would raise objection to that. Like for me, I'd be like, because I know I'm going to get canceled if I say the wrong thing. I'm probably in some fucking circle in Washington or in the news, and everybody around me is crazy woke because, well, let's be honest. Let me explain to you what happens if you're a journalist, an academic, a professor, a lot of times now a politician. I want to explain it to you. You see, usually you have to come from money. Usually you have to have gone through the elite schooling system. You go to a very elite high school or boarding school or prep school. You then go into a very elite Ivy League academic institution, in this case, Harvard. I believe she's Harvard educated. Yeah. There's a pipeline to Harvard, man. It's super hard to get into. And then you go into politics, where you don't have, what's the difference? So why is there a difference? Why is there a difference? Well, so why am I drawing a line between professors, politicians, academics, actors even, but actors less so. Let's leave Hollywood out of it because I got my own issues with that. But let's just say politics, policy wonks like economists and think tank wonks, eggheads. Like somehow you can sit around and write things that you've thought about. You can kind of work with your head and your face. When your job is, when I do this, my job, I work with my face and my head. Now the difference is I got to be interesting. I got to make you laugh, or I got to get you at least waiting for a laugh, or I got to be somewhat interesting. You don't have to do that if you're a fucking economist. You don't have to do that if you're a professor. You don't have to do that if you're even in the news, man. You just have to like either regurgitate what someone else said because they have an idea that makes sense to you, or you can put a bunch of other broken ideas together and create your own idea, and then you get to spit that out. But what the difference is, you don't pay a price for being wrong. If I'm not funny, people don't come to my shows. That's paying a price for being wrong. If I'm a politician, it's not like a lot of times you can be a politician and you're almost doing someone else's bidding, because if you want to get reelected, you have to do what your fundraisers tell you. You have to do what your party has decided is the policy to uphold. And then if you lose, well, that's like the shifting of the tides, or maybe you didn't speak well, or maybe you kind of were on the wrong side of history. You couldn't justify your actions to your voters. But that's going away too because of gerrymandering. So a lot of times if you're an incumbent politician, if you're an incumbent Republican or Democrat, all you have to do is hold the line. And the next time you're up for re-election, you've got the whole machine behind you, and all your challengers, they don't have the money. And the voters already know who you are. And you can always push the blame onto the other side. That's not how most of us live, man. If you have a business or whatever, you pay a price for being wrong. And so when I see like this thing with Rachel Levine, the only time probably a journalist is held accountable is when they go, I don't think she should be Woman of the Year. Now you can't say because she's not a real woman. Don't dare say that. And you can't say that maybe a woman has been a biological woman and had to deal with all the things women have to deal with. Maybe they should be ahead in the line. No. You'd have to come up with a really good and another tangible reason. In this case, they were like, hey man, I love this. This is awesome. They have to be like, hey man, listen, at the end of the day, Rachel Levine helped deal with the COVID pandemic in the first year. Huh. How'd that go? They weren't wrong about anything at all, were they? Okay. That's the reason. Because she was a bureaucrat put in a position where she had to deal with that. And I guess, it seems to me a lot of people died. So nobody was right. I'm not blaming anybody because we didn't know what the fuck was going on with this virus. All right. Let's see. We got Simone Biles. Yes, I agree. Killer. Rosalind Brewer, one of corporate America's most prominent women. She's the only black woman CEO of an S&P 500 company. That's legit. Kizzmekia Corbett, the National Institute of Health's lead scientist for coronavirus vaccine research. She helped develop the COVID-19 vaccine, saving millions of lives. Okay, I take issue on whether or not that saved millions of lives. Okay, and what do you mean helped develop? I have to see the data on that. I don't know, but good for her. Good-looking woman. Seems like probably very smart. She's a scientist. It looks like her face is being cut in half there. What's going on? Oh, that's just the lighting. Got it. I got skeptical hippo eyes. Heather Cox Richardson. In her popular daily newsletter, Letters from an American, she empowers marginalized groups who she says are more important than ever to the political landscape. Get the fuck out of here. You don't empower. This is a classic example. You don't empower anybody with your fucking newsletter. Nobody's reading your newsletter. What's her name? Heather what? Heather Cox Richardson. No one is reading your new fucking. This is what I'm talking about. I'm writing a fucking newsletter. Nah, God, I can't. I have to work 3 jobs. I have 2 kids. I'm in a bad neighborhood, and I got to take the bus. I got to take 2 buses, and then I hurt my back, but my boss doesn't want to hear about it, and I have to stand there with a fishnet, and I get the fries, the heat from the fries that we cook it in this lard mixed with canola oil, and it's actually affecting my lungs. It's coating my lungs. I'm a marginalized woman. Let me read this newsletter by Heather Cox Richardson. This elderly white woman who probably has a lot to say about my situation. It's a newsletter. When I read Heather Cox Richardson's newsletter on the bus between stops, and I get sick when I'm throwing up because I can't read because of motion sickness, and my boss gives me a 15-minute break. So when I'm on the pooper, but I'm constipated, so nothing happens anyway, that's when I read Heather Cox Richardson's fucking newsletter. Letters from an American, and that really empowers me. So all I need is her fucking newsletter that I keep rolled up. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I keep it on my phone. Maybe there's a digital copy now. And but my phone isn't an iPhone because I can't afford that. So I have to wait for snail mail for her fucking letters from an American. And then when I read all her words that empower me, a marginalized woman, I feel so much better. She better be Woman of the Year or whatever. All right. Holy shit. Talk about out of control. Hey, I guarantee not a single marginalized woman, including every woman up there, has ever read her fucking newsletter. Ever. Ever. Go to Heather Cox Richardson's Letters from an American. I need to see this. Holy shit. You got to be kidding me. This is unbelievable. I get to what about my fucking podcast? Can I get Man of the Year? On Saturday, the anniversary of 1787, on which the farmers signed the U.S. Constitution, Attorney General Merrick Garland administered the oath of allegiance to 200 immigrants in the great halls of Ellis Island. I don't give a fuck. I'm already bored. I'm bored. That's the newsletter, and she writes a newsletter. Is this 1963? Hey, do you carry traveler's checks with you? Did you recently get the polio vaccine? What is fucking going on? All right. Anyway, thanks, Dr. No Help. Rupali Desia, the attorney, defended the integrity of the 2020 presidential election and helped launch a recreational marijuana program. What the fuck is going on? Go back. Hold on. Rupia Desai. Or Rupali. Okay, now if she had been a white woman and she was the attorney who defended the integrity of the 2020 presidential election. By the way, there are about fucking 2,000 of these people who defended the integrity of the 2020 presidential election. I don't even know what the fuck that means. Be more general. Did she write a brief? Did she help file some papers? Was she on a committee that kind of lent her voice to what should be done because everybody knew what should be done? And then she helped launch a recreational marijuana program? Like, this is who we're giving Woman of the Year. You want to talk about out of touch? Hey, USA Today, who the fuck is voting on this? Who the fuck is doing this? It's unbelievable. All right, let's go. Kamala Harris, that's fantastic. Go to let me see the other ones. Nina Garcia, let me read this shit. The editor-in-chief of Elle magazine, she credits her Colombian heritage in helping her excel in the competitive world of fashion. I got her. I like it. She's Colombian. I don't know. That's a hard job. Editor-in-chief of Elle is no joke. You got to be a badass. Melinda French Gates. I got you. First of all, you had to bang Bill Gates for all that time, which I don't even believe, but you had to be with that guy. So you get something for that. Let me see something. Go back. Bill Gates, who thinks he's smarter than all of us. The problem with people who are smart as Bill Gates and he's smart as shit, it's like trying to run a race against a leopard. I think my buddy Neil Brennan said that. And it's true. He's brilliant. But the problem with people who think they're smarter than you are is they're going to come up with plans and they're going to orchestrate your whole life on a board because they don't think of you as a human being that is equal to them. They're going to think of you as somebody that needs their guidance, and that's fucking dangerous. Careful of a philosopher king. Careful of the guy who thinks that he is smarter than you, but it doesn't mean he knows what's best for you. But he does. He believes that. But I got you. Melinda French Gates has done a shitload for charity. Kamala Harris. I don't care. I don't care. All I see is ambition and evil. But that might be because I don't fall on her side of the political line. So maybe I'm blind. Maybe I'm fucking blind. All right? Cheryl Horn. God damn it. I can't get over this. Anyway, Cheryl Horn. After her niece disappeared, she created an online community to spread awareness and information about the many missing Indigenous women in Montana. I get it. I mean, that's I can't say anything bad about her. All right? Rachel Levine. She became the highest-ranking openly transgender official when the Senate confirmed her as Assistant Secretary of Health in October 2021. I'm just saying. Is she Woman of the Year because she did something, or is she Woman of the Year because she's transgender? That's my question. I'm just asking. Is being transgender and going through that operation an accomplishment, or is it a necessity? God, I ask such deep questions, dude. I ask deep questions.
Yeah.
Is it an accomplishment, or is it an identity? Is it an accomplishment, or was it a necessary act to keep herself whole, sane, and maybe even alive? Because some people, or I think 50% of transgender people who have gender dysmorphia, whatever you call it.
Dysphoria.
Yeah, they say that 50% commit suicide. I don't believe that. I don't know. I'm very, very skeptical of all these stats, but I do think it's real. I do think that people who are really passionate about the transgender thing have looked at those, have treated people like that, and I guess the suicide rate is crazy high. But I don't know that surgery is actually something that, is something that actually stops them from doing that. I don't know. I have no idea. I think I've already talked about transgender shit way too much.
Yeah, do you want to talk about if a polar bear would beat a rhino?
Yes. So are we done with the Women of the Year stuff? The rest of it is whatever.
We got through the
fucking marijuana. I set up a recreational marijuana fucking program, and now I'm Woman of the Year. Woo! Because nobody else could do that, and I was a lawyer, and because we need more of them. And then the other one was she writes a fucking newsletter. A newsletter. I'm a white chick who writes a newsletter that empowers marginalized women. Get the fuck out of here. No one reads your newsletter. If you turned your newsletter into a fucking pornographic movie with the hottest people on the planet, I still wouldn't watch it because it's too boring. I'm already bored. When I hear newsletter, it's like hearing fucking, it's like hearing campaign finance reform. Both of those put me to sleep. I immediately fall asleep. If somebody says, hey, somebody actually said to me, you should have a newsletter for, your fans. I was like, if I want all of them to fall asleep, if I want all of them to run away from me, hey guys, sign up for my newsletter where I keep you informed on what I've been eating and what I've been doing with my day. I've got a lot of great stories. If you want to read them, because apparently I'm a great writer. And believe me, I'll give you a lot of tips on how to deal with your life, advice, so you can be empowered. And most importantly, I have a column where I speak to people of color, where I tell them that they're okay, that they're going to be amazing, and they have the same potential as I do because I'm white. Now, where's my fucking award for Man of the Year or They of the Year? Can't wait to get these Invisalign off. I'm sorry if they're in the way, but they're not because you guys are getting lost here. I want to move on to probably the most important part of this podcast. And I need you to look up while we're doing this because somebody's broken down this fight, I think, polar bear versus rhino. And I want to see where they came out. Here's what I have to say right away. If a polar bear and a rhino got in a fight, I believe the polar bear wins. Yeah. Now, the polar bear's got to get the fuck out of the way. The rhino is every bit as fast or faster than a polar bear. That's what I'm guessing. Okay? But also, a rhino's got crazy thick skin. It's got two horns on the end of his face, and I have this joke where its brain has two gears, 0 and fuck you, which is what it's going to do. It's going to come straight at you, polar bear. Now, polar bear is a predator. Polar bear is aware that it can get hurt. Why do I say that? Because they eat the fuck and kill the fuck out of elephant seals and walruses. Now, a walrus has got some crazy tusks. The polar bear gets behind it. There are a couple things I want you to look up, Dylan. I want you to look up how thick a rhino's skin is, and I want you to look up how thick an elephant seal's skin is. Okay? Because an elephant seal's skin is no good here when it comes to polar bear jaws.
Wow. This is actually really interesting.
Yeah.
Rhino's skin is 2 inches thick.
Yeah, 2 inches.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy thick.
Yeah. Elephant seal, the skin and the blubber is 6 inches. The actual skin is only a 1/4 inch thick, but there's a lot of stuff that
it's only
meshes.
a 1/4 inch, but there's a lot of blubber.
Yeah.
Interesting, but blubber's easy to bite through. Okay, so now we're dealing with 2 inches. 2 inches of, that's a lot, believe it or not, to bite through. It's a lot, but it's a polar bear. All right. Now I believe a rhino, and I'm going with big male here. I'm going with big male polar bear. A big male rhino is 6,000 pounds. A big polar bear is what, 1,100 pounds? You're talking about an animal that's 5 times its size.
Yeah, we're getting 775 to 1,500 for an adult male.
Let's go with 1,500 pounds. Let's go big, giant, gigante. We're going gigante, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, what is a walrus, a big male walrus or elephant seal weigh, please?
Bigger male rhinos average about 3,000 pounds.
I think they're 6,000. No, that's a big difference. Is it 6 or is it 3?
It's not that big of a difference, right?
Hey, bro. We're getting serious here. I'm sorry I have to do this. I gotta amass all my data. I got to amass my data.
It's depending on the rhino, but
yeah,
it can range from 3,000 to 6,000 pounds.
Thank you. So we're going 6,000 pounds.
Okay.
I know my fucking weights.
All right.
Now, polar bear top speed, I would say, is 25 miles an hour. And I'm going to say that a fucking rhino's top speed is maybe 28 miles an hour.
You are right on.
Am I?
Yep. Rhinos are slightly faster than polar bears.
Thank you. Okay, so speed's not a huge factor. And what I'm going to say is if that polar bear doesn't get out the way of a rhino, he's getting 2 horns right at the base of his throat, and we say bye-bye. If that polar bear comes at him like this, he's getting eviscerated. So Mr. Polar Bear has got to figure out a way to get behind him Gordon Ryan style. All right? If he doesn't get behind him or to the side of him, he's got big fucking problems. Big problems.
Good God.
Yeah, what?
Elephant seal, 4,500 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah, 4,500 pounds.
Yeah.
So we know that a polar bear ain't hearing a peep out of a 5,000 pound, 6,000 pound rhino. To him, it still looks like food. It just looks like like an elephant seal or a walrus with just, I don't know, longer legs and a sharper horn. That horn's significant, though. That horn, remember, Black Death, water buffaloes get their asses crushed, kicked by rhinos. So, and by the way, a polar bear is dead meat when it comes to an elephant. So let's not even talk about that. An elephant's not here. An elephant laughs at a fucking polar bear. Laughs at it. Okay? Laughs at it. You understand? Stomps the shit out of it. You got a rug. What you have at the end of that fight is a fucking polar bear rug. Okay? No taxidermy necessary. All right? It's prepared for you. Because he's going to stomp the shit out of that fucking polar bear. I don't care if he's 1,500 pounds. I don't care how hungry he is. That's what happens. Now, back to the Rhino. It's not a zero-sum game. The rhino's going to win. The polar bear's going to win. But 10 out of 10 times, I'm going polar bear 6 to rhinos 4.
Yeah.
That's how you got to look at it.
Uh-huh.
And it all comes down to whether or not the polar bear can get behind the rhino. Now, here's what I think. The rhino's going to get tired faster than the polar bear. And if the polar bear can get behind him once again or to the side of him, grab onto his neck and start biting, now the rhino's got some problems. And the rhino falls over, you know what happens. It's done. It's done. So that's kind of where I come in. Now, there's a caveat to this shit. There's a caveat. When you talk about this fight, you cannot have open space. You can't have open space because somebody's going to get injured and walk away, and it's probably the polar bear. You got to have them in a canister. You have to have them in an arena. You have to have them in a space where they can't avoid each other and they got to go. Now, that will favor the fucking rhino. It just does. It favors a bull. It favors a Madeira fighting bull. When bears were pitted against bulls in the old country of Spain, when they had a fucking fighting bull versus a bear, and you can look this up, according to Hemingway, in Death in the Afternoon, the bull won every time. The bull won every single time. Now, that was also a European brown bear. It's not a polar bear. All right? So, you got to look at it that way, too. But a bull is no joke. A bull is avoided by a bear. A bear's not coming after a bull. It's coming after a baby calf, coming after a sick or weak female. It's not coming after a healthy bull because it knows what's going to happen. So in the wild, you're not going to see that shit. It's why lions are not coming after a healthy water buffalo or a rhino unless they got like 50 of them. Wow. What happened?
That's just crazy. I mean, there's a long-running tradition of brutal bull and bear fights in 19th century California. The pictures look pretty fucked up.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so they tie the fucking bear up. Well, that's bullshit and unfair.
Yeah.
It's probably, I don't know if that's a black bear. If it's a black bear, it's a big problem. But how do you chain up a huge grizzly? That's going to be hard.
Rhino versus polar bear. Do you want to know why you're so wrong?
I do want to know why I'm so wrong. So I'm saying, I respect that I'm wrong here because it's a tough one. As I got into it, I thought I knew the answer. As I got into it, I started looking at all the different factors. Go ahead.
It really comes down to the hide. There's just too much grizzle to the armor that a rhino has. According to Fauna Facts, a rhino would most likely beat a polar bear in a fight. This is because a rhino has more armor than the bear. A bear would have no chance against this creature. Okay,
but you're saying a bear. I'm talking about a polar bear.
Well, he breaks
the largest meat-eating mammal.
He breaks down, many different bears. A polar bear's strength is no match for a rhino.
I agree with
that. The most it could do would cause the rhino to bleed, but ultimately, it would definitely lose in a one-on-one battle with this animal since the rhino can weigh up to 7 times as much as an adult polar bear.
You know what? I'm going to concede. That's just the way it is. Look, all I think about, like I saw this, I watched this YouTube video of what the favelas in Brazil are like.
Yeah.
And you had like this gang, and there were these two cops, and the gang, and I'm talking 15 strong, all had like AR-15s, shotguns, Uzis, handguns, and every one of them walked by the cops with their guns pointed at the cops like that. Don't fucking think about it, and kept walking. Right? Right? So I'm going, damn. That's what you deal with as a cop? That's how organized these favela, mafia gangs are, and they run everything? Wow. Okay, how would I fight that if they were terrorizing my neighborhood? This is the kind of shit I think about when I should be writing stand-up.
Right.
This is the kind of shit I fantasize about. We're going to get to earthquake preparedness because I'm getting into this, okay? But I think about stuff like, do I have small caliber weapons to kill sparrows and squirrels, which is food that's the most immediate? They're not deer around, so I don't need a high-powered rifle. I need a smaller caliber weapon to take out the food that is around. Where is my fresh water coming from? Do I have a well? Do I have pallets of water in my car and in my garage? Huh? Yeah. I got a pond. Do I have stuff to purify that water? I'm eating the fuck out of those koi even though I'm attached to them. But back to the favela, back to that gang that might be there to, I don't know, terrorize my town. What I'm doing is I'm getting myself, and I was looking at those guys, I'm getting myself a 22 long rifle, all right? Maybe even a competition 22 pistol that I silence. I get a suppressor on it. Now, I've got a scope and a suppressor on my pistol or on my rifle. It's just a 22. Okay, very quiet. I mean, if I'm a real pro, I get a subsonic round, but that just means it doesn't break the sound barrier, so you don't hear that crack. Because that's what makes some noise. So when you have if you're a real professional assassin, you have a subsonic round. That means it doesn't go faster than 750 miles per second. So it doesn't push all the air molecules in front of it, and then they break. That's how you break the sound barrier. So, but let's just say we don't worry about that. What I do is I'm sitting back in the back of the room, and I got a small envelope in the window. I got a small opening in the window. I might even I get a glass cutter. I cut a little hole. And I aim my scope at the last guy in that group. And where am I aiming? It's a 22. I'm aiming at like behind his ear, in the back of his neck, anywhere like that, even in his back. I'm going to take him out. Bop, bop, and I'm going down the line. You're not going to know that your boy behind you is dead or is dealing with that until you look back. And by that time, it's too late for you too. I figure with a good sized clip, I can take 11 guys out before they even know what the fuck is happening. I can take out, I don't know, maybe 5 guys. Your instinct is to turn back around and go, hey, what's up, dude? And now I got 5 more. Bop, 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 bop. I might be able to get 15 dudes if I'm good enough with a scope. And if they're not dead, they're dealing with a 22 somewhere in their vital regions. That takes you out of the gang. And you don't know who did it. You didn't hear it. You don't know what's going on. I've planned my escape route. I've either got what's it called? Like one of those wires where you go between buildings and you hold on and you just kind of zzz, and I go into another window. Or I have a disguise I get into, and now I'm an old lady pushing a cart. By the way, as I'm pushing the cart and there's mayhem, I got all kinds of weaponry under my garments. All kinds of weaponry. So if they go, hey, that's a guy, I go, is it? Surprise, motherfuckers. And now come out the street sweepers, which is shotgun. shotgun with that cylinder with all the barrels. Gush, 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 gush. It's a sweet street. I'm sweeping the street. I'm sweeping the street.
And then after you get back on the utility wire and you zoom away.
Yes. Here's the other thing you can do if you're dealing with a gang that's terrorizing your village. You get a tactical shotgun with double-aught shells, okay, which are like large pellets. Like I think they're the size almost of a 9mm round. And you can shoot that into the car when they all pile into their cars. And a lot of times with 1 round, 2 rounds, you kill everybody in the car, or at least they all got big problems. So there's also that. That's part of earthquake preparedness. If the earthquake is bad enough, you are going to have warlords take over shit. You either become a warlord or you become the quiet avenger who protects those he loves. And you have to be a phantom. You have to be prepared to exact maximum damage on evil without them knowing, without them even knowing where the fuck it's coming from. And then you pit one against the other. Maybe you take one of the bodies and you draw the symbol of the other gang on the body, and now they're fighting together. And when they're fighting together, I'm still got my perch, and now I'm taking them out too. You understand? Do I have the ability to grow my own food? Yes. You need drums. You need a water system. What are you going to grow, though? It better be potatoes. Because even though they're a water-intensive crop, they're easy to grow and they're nutritious. Please store some cheese. Please store some cheese, some dried rice, and maybe even some lentils underground in large drums, large sealed drums. Again, you need equipment to purify water. You need the ability to make fire. You know what's a really good way? You know what's a really good tinder? Doritos. Doritos, bro. Okay? And steel wool. Carry that. Gloves. I need some gloves in your earthquake preparedness kit. I need an axe and a saw. Small one. I'd like a shovel, please. I'd like a small shovel as well. All right? I want a tarp. I want a couple tarps. I need a large first aid kit. All of this stuff has to be portable on your back in case we got to get up and fucking move to where the food is, where safety is. Yeah?
Any drugs or alcohol to alleviate the stress of the situation?
Glad you asked. I'm glad you asked. Because there's a good chance we're not going to make it through. And Dylan, if you get injured and you're like, I can't, I'm just trying to catch my breath. Whatever it is.
Okay.
I go like this. I go, hey, bud, do me a favor and swallow these capsules. This is 6 grams of mushrooms, and you're going to dissolve into the sun. And you're going to go someplace great. And then I'm going to sing you a wonderful song. It's the goodbye song. And it goes on. Yeah.
It sounds like I would just trip and then stop tripping and still be like really hurt on the ground, and you just wouldn't be there.
Okay, so then we got to get you some morphine.
Yeah.
Got to get you some morphine. I need some Adderall. I need some fucking Adderall. Pharmacy grade Adderall, just to keep going sometimes because I can't sleep, right? Adderall's a necessary. You can't have blow, but you can have Adderall. All right? It's a clean high. It'll last a good long while. 20 milligrams of Adderall.
No fentanyl.
Right? No fentanyl. No fentanyl. But maybe a couple hot shots of heroin. Hot shots. Because if I got to put you out of your misery, bro, that's probably not a bad way to go. Am I wrong?
No, perfect way.
Couple hot shots of heroin. That's just last case scenario. I'm not letting the zombies get to you. I'm not letting you go out. You're not getting your face eaten. What I say is, as I'm talking to you, I tell you to look at the clouds. And I start telling you some weird story, about when I was a boy and how you always reminded me of my buddy Tex. And I remember Tex was always the leader of our group. And by the way, I'm tying your tourniquet right now. And I'm swabbing your area. I don't know why I'm swabbing it, because you're going to die anyway, so there's no need to swab it. I'm just getting the vein up. You just hear me go. And Tex was such a good kid, man. He's such a good kid. He was kind of our leader, kind of our protector. He'd stand up to the town bullies. He was always the first one in, you know? Always the one who came up with a plan. Yeah, there's that vein. All right, let me just see. One day we started running toward this lake, and he's like, let's just jump in. And I said, but we don't know how deep it is. We don't know how safe it is. He goes, well, that's kind of the thrill of it, isn't it? And he started running. He was always faster than we were, you know? And he kept running. And as he jumped, I got to the edge. I was about to jump, and I was always kind of hesitant. I looked in, and he was waving me back. I was like, what's wrong? He kept waving me back. I looked down. He jumped into a whole nest of water moccasins. And they were biting him. And he was dying. And he looked at me, he smiled. And he went under. And when I'm done with that story, you went under. The syringe is empty. And I close your eyes like this. I do that thing with my fingers. I close your eyes. I grab your shit. Now I got more supplies. Yeah. I put them on the back of somebody who's there. I probably have a pack mule. And if it's not a pack mule, it's just a large guy who's a mute. He's got a huge, he's like Samoan and Slavic or something. He was a former power lifter, but he's a mute. And I was just always nice to him. And he just carries all my shit. And sometimes I just tell him to squeeze somebody until they have to tap.
Lenny.
He's Lenny. I go, squeeze that guy until I get the information I need out of him. And I go, Lenny's going to squeeze the shit out of you Lenny will squeeze the shit literally out of you. So tell me where your fucking gold is, where the map is, where the supplies are, where the weapons are, where your captives are, whatever I have to do. Because remember, I'm an Avenger. So part of being prepared for an earthquake is being ready to right wrongs. Okay? Righting wrongs in chaos is the only reason you should be in fucking chaos. You are there to bring order to chaos. So I hope you guys learned a lot today. I was a little all over the place, but I feel like we got a lot accomplished today. All right? I'm sorry I got heated over that fucking newsletter. That's how it is. Please check out Man Tears. If you want my dates, bryancallen.com. I will be in Spokane, Washington this weekend. Tacoma, Washington next weekend at Tacoma Comedy Club. I'm at the Stress Factory in Bridgeport, October 13, 14, 15. I'm in Schaumburg, Illinois, Schaumburg Improv, October 27, 28, 29. Charlotte, North Carolina Comedy Zone. It's been a long time since I've been there. I can't wait. November 10, 11, 12. All right? Subscribe. Comment on this video. iTunes, Spotify. Everywhere you get your pods, I'm reading this. As usual, we are brought to you by the best flip-flops on planet Earth. Toe hold. I'm always wearing them. Wicked and Craig leather. It molds to your feet. Look at that. Look at that, man. It's unbelievable. You cannot destroy these. That is paracord tested to it can hold 5 rhinos. 5 rhinos. That little thing right there can hold 5 rhinos up in the air. We've tried it in our lab, in our toe hold lab. Handmade in America, Las Vegas, by A.G. Gregoroff. I keep trying to tell him to number these things because now we had to hire a bunch of other people because the company's expanding. And I think these are collector's items. I think they're beautiful. Look at that green. That's crocodile. He made those custom. That's the great thing about them. Send them your size. You'll get them customized. They're expensive. No, they're not expensive. They're the most expensive, but they're the only flip-flops you will ever fucking need. All right? It's as close to walking barefoot as you can imagine, and it's the best thing you can do for your feet. No arch support. No arch support. Create your own arch. Build your arch. Build your feet. All right? Jiu-jitsu for life.
Bryan Callen, this is his intro song. Bryan